Shocking truths, how peasants loved at midnight the devastating secrets they never knew. As the clock struck 12, a peculiar stillness blanketed the small village of Hollow Creek. In the heart of the night, whispers danced among shadowy figures, secrets slithered through narrow alleys, and raw emotions spilled over like the cups of ale that overflowed at the tavern. This was no ordinary midnight. This was when the line between love, loyalty, and betrayal blurred beyond recognition, that a sudden gust rustled the darkened trees, sending a chill down Clara's spine. She had heard tales of the midnight revelry, those forbidden gatherings where peasants tossed caution to the wind. The flicker of lanterns illuminated faces marked by desperation and desire. They came together in secret, away from the watchful eyes of the wealthy, drawn to the thrill of what they might lose and what they might gain. Clara gripped the edge of the well, her heart pounding, afraid of the mysteries that lay ahead. What really went on under the cloak of darkness? What truths did they hide from the day? There, in the dim glow, Clara caught sight of silhouettes dancing, their movements jerky yet intoxicating. She could almost feel the warmth of their laughter, mixed with something darker, more potent. The laughter morphed into gasps, and suddenly a figure fell to the ground, a heavy thud echoing through the silence. Gasps filled the air, eyes widened with dread. She felt her throat tighten. Was it an accident? Or something more sinister? An older woman with fiery red hair leaned in, whispering sharp words that sliced through the tension. "It's the curse," she hissed. "Those who dare love beneath the midnight sky will be punished." The crowd murmured, a wave of shock washing over them. They had always believed that the night held secrets, but a curse. What did that mean for them? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Clara's curiosity ignited into flames. She wanted to flee but felt rooted to the spot. The scene unfolded like a theater performance, vibrant yet disturbing. In the distance, she spotted a couple entwined, their faces hidden just enough to keep their affair a reality. Yet, their joy felt sullied at that moment. What were they risking? Just then, the air turned electric. The silence shattered like glass as a shriek echoed through the night. Clara's stomach knotted. The peasant's face had twisted in pain, eyes bulging in sheer horror. "What is happening?" she gasped. The crowd pulsed with fear, and all eyes were drawn to the brewing storm beneath the midnight moon. Every ounce of dread in the air thickened like fog, leaving Clara breathless. She had to know what began in the shadows could mean for her in the light of day. In that moment, it struck her, were they all connected to this curse? Was their love fated to crumble into darkness? She leaned closer, caught up in the spell of uncertainty. As the chaos erupted, Clara took a step back. All around her, confusion reigned. Was the midnight curse real? And if it was, what would happen when the sun rose again? The band of peasants who dared to love at this hour held secrets too heavy to bear, but Clara couldn't shake the feeling that it all revolved around her. She felt drawn, as if fate prompted her to uncover what lingered in the shadows. The night was far from over, and Clara was only beginning to peel back the layers of a mystery that could change everything. The scream hung in the air like a sinister ghost, echoing between the wooden buildings of Hollow Creek. Clara's pulse raced as she turned her head, seeking the source of the chaos. In a heartbeat, she caught sight of the fallen figure, a young peasant, pale and lifeless on the cobblestone ground. A chill skated down her spine. This was no ordinary gathering. The weight of tragedy pressed down, thick and suffocating. Gasps rippled through the crowd, mingling with whispers that fluttered like angry moths. "It's true, the curse is real. We should never have come here." A man's voice quivered with terror, and the crowd began to shift, inching away from the horror they had stumbled upon. Clara felt her heart hammering in her chest. She couldn't move, trapped in a surreal moment where fear gripped her tightly, refusing to let go, but amidst the frenzy, something caught her eye, a glint in the shadows. A figure stepped back from the crowd, eyes wide but alive with a defiance Clara could barely comprehend. This was no frightened soul fleeing the scene, this was someone tethered to destiny. It was Lila, an outspoken girl known for breaking the norms of their tight-knit village. Clara's heart leapt. If anyone could challenge the night's dark grip, it was Lila. "Listen to me!" Lila shouted, her voice cutting through the din like a knife. "This isn't a curse. It's a warning. We mustn't let fear bind us." The crowd responded with a mixture of disbelief and anger, eyes darting between Lila and the fallen peasant. Clara could hear their murmurs, filled with doubt and dread. But Lila pressed on. "A true curse only holds power if we believe in it. Love is powerful. We must not let it fall to despair. Stand with me." Clara's instincts kicked in. Maybe it was the spark of Lila's courage that ignited a fire within her. Or perhaps it was the need to understand what lay beyond the darkness. She moved closer, drawn to Lila's words like a moth to a flame. Could love really triumph over the shadow of fate? But what did it mean for those who had already suffered? Questions churned in her mind, mixing with the palpable fear around her. Suddenly, the fallen peasant's body convulsed, a jarring moment that drew Clara back into reality. The murmur transitioned to panicked shouts. "He's cursed. We're all cursed!" screamed a woman, clutching her child. Specters of dread filled the air, lingering like the taste of ash. Clara felt a knot tighten in her stomach. What if Lila was wrong? What if the curse consumed them all? She caught Lila's eye, the intensity of her message driving Clara forward. "What do we do now?" Clara shouted, urgency crackling in her voice. Lila's face glowed with determination. "We fight. For our love. For our lives." The crowd hesitated, caught between fear and defiance. The tension surged, an electrical current waiting to be released. As they stood there, Clara felt the throbbing pulse of a new reality forming around them. The air thickened with possibility as eyes turned toward Lila, an unexpected tide drawing unity out of chaos. Clara stepped forward, adrenaline drowning out her fear. "I believe her. Who will stand with us?" But just as hope began to swell, the night trembled again. A low growl echoed from the dense woods surrounding the village, primal and unsettling. The murmurs transformed into screams as the source of the growl stepped into view, a shadowy figure, its eyes gleaming like two fiery orbs piercing the darkness. "What have you awakened?" It seemed to hiss, chilling Clara's very bones. Clara's mind raced. The midnight battle for hope had only just begun, and the darkness was taking form. Was it an omen or a twisted ally? And what had she unleashed upon Hollow Creek? She'd have to confront the grim realm of curses and love, where each decision could lead her deeper into despair or liberate them all. And so, she stood on the precipice of eternity, where the monsters within and without were ready to pounce. But one question loomed above all: would love be their savior or their doom? The crowd's heartbeat quickened, becoming a collective stutter as the shadowy figure emerged further from the woods. It wasn't just any creature, it was a beast-like silhouette, towering and sinewy, as if woven from the very nightmares that haunted Hollow Creek. Clara's breath hitched as fear clawed at her throat. This was no mere human, this was a manifestation of fear itself. "Stay back!" Lila cried, her voice somehow rising above the terror. "Remember, we are not alone." Clara's hands fluttered at her sides, trembling as she fought to contain the rising dread. Still, Lila's voice beckoned courage from deep within, urging her to find strength among the frightened villagers, who had flinched back like startled birds. The creature lingered in the shadows, its fiery eyes flickering with malevolence. And then, with a sly grin that spoke of malevolence, it stepped closer. "You think love can save you?" It taunted, words dripping with mockery. The crowd edged back, muttering fearful prayers under their breaths, but Clara stood defiantly, recalling Lila's words echoing in her mind. Could she believe it too? "We will not let you take us," Clara yelled, her voice wavering against the palpable fear. The creature's laugh slithered through the air, a chilling sound that echoed with despair. "Futile. I am the curse you've awakened. Each moment spent quaking with fear feeds me, nourishes the darkness." Clara's heart pounded heavily. What could she say to counter its venomous words? Bastions of hope felt fragile beneath the weight of this sinister being. Suddenly, a voice broke through her daze. It was an older villager, clutching a ragged shawl around her shoulders, her face edged with lines of wisdom and pain. "This is not just a creature. This is a reflection of our own terror, our regrets, and our sorrows. We must face it together." A murmur rippled through the onlookers, pulling their gaze to the wise woman. Lila's eyes sparkled with a glint of fierce hope. "She is right," Lila shouted, urgency surging through her. "Together, our love can bind the darkness." Something shifted within Clara as the words ignited a flicker of resolve. If they were going to fight against the shadows, they had to push back against their fears, not run from them. But how? What if it's not enough? Someone whispered. What if love isn't strong enough to fight this darkness? The beast's eyes flamed brighter, absorbing the whisper of doubt. "See. It's in your hearts." It seethed. "You believe you are cursed. That belief alone can unleash my true power." The atmosphere grew heavier, layers of despair wrapping around Clara like a suffocating blanket. But Lila faced the creature head-on, unabashed. "You may think fear is your ally, but it holds no strength against love. We stand united." Bolstered by Lila's resilience, Clara remembered her own fear. She recalled her sorrow, her losses, and suddenly the discord rumbled beneath her disbelief. They had already suffered so much together, they were bound in ways deeper than any curse could unravel. "Join us." Clara's voice pierced through the collective dread. "Join us in this fight." One by one, hands began to rise, trembling and tentative but rising nonetheless. As the villagers slowly began to step forward, their fears met with this fragile courage. Something shifted in the air. A haze lifted, allowing flickering warmth to seep through, momentarily pushing back the suffocating chill. The shadowy figure recoiled, its grin faltering. "This is a mistake," it hissed, the flames in its eyes flickering. "Love won't save you." But Clara, fueled by determination, stepped forward. "No, but it'll fight for us." Just as the energy transformed, a shriek pierced the air, a terrifying sound, echoing from the woods as if the very night protested the gathering force of love. Clara turned, dread curling in her stomach. What else was lurking in the darkness? Would their united stand be enough, or did more horrors await them in the shadows? The battle was just beginning, but they needed to brace for whatever was about to break loose. And just as hope clashed with looming terror, another figure emerged from the dark, a figure Clara never expected, a specter from her past, returning to haunt her. Clara's heart dropped as the figure stepped into the flickering light from the villagers' makeshift torches. It was a familiar face, one she had lost to the tides of time and grief, her younger brother, David. But he wasn't quite the same. The warmth of his smile had twisted into something darker, a ghastly reminder of a life snuffed out too soon. His eyes flickered with fear but also a haunting sadness, as if he bore witness to unseen horrors. "David!" Clara breathed, disbelief coating her voice. The crowd gasped, horror and recognition mixing in the air. Whispers ricocheted between them, the name echoing in 1,000 hushed breaths. "Clara, I didn't want to return." David's voice was a mere shadow of its former self, heavy with anguish. "But I am trapped, just as you are. We all are. This place, it holds the essence of our pain, and it's hungry." The creature let out a guttural laugh, its amusement bearing down like a lead weight. "Look at you, all of you. So easily deceived. Your pasts are entangled with your present, that is the true curse. Lila's gaze hardened. No. We refuse to let you tear us apart. David, if you are here, if you can hear us, fight against it. You are more than the pain. But Clara's resolve shattered like glass. Memories flooded back, small hands holding her own, laughter shared over cornfields, and then the hollow silence that followed her brother's death. Her chest tightened, a heavy lump lodging in her throat. How could she possibly fight with all her heart when her brother had been a victim of the darkness they now faced? Clara, I am torn. I cannot stay, David pleaded, his visage flickering like a candle in the wind. I get pulled by the shadows. Their whispers, they call me back to despair. No. Clara shook her head, tears streaming down her face. You are here. You don't have to listen to them. You are not trapped, you are loved. The creature flared, anger palpable in the air. This bond you share, it's nothing but a chain, dragging you deeper into the abyss. It thrives on your desperation. The villagers were restless, their whispered doubts creeping out again. What if she is wrong? Someone murmured, eyes darting nervously. What if we can't save him? Stop. No more doubt. Lila roared, her voice slicing through the air like a blade. We've faced our fears. We've gathered our love. David, you have to fight for yourself. We are here together, forever. As Clara reached out, hands trembling, she felt the warmth of renewed strength around her. The warmth of others grounding her, pulling her back from the brink of despair. The creature recoiled, sensing the tide shifting, its eyes narrowing dangerously. Foolish children. You think love can defeat me? It seethed, its voice like ice. Then let love guide your fate. Suddenly, shadows swirled around David, gripping him like vines upon a tree. Clara's heart raced, each beat a desperate plea. No. You are stronger than this. But as the darkness clawed at David, she realized something crucial. He is not just an echo. He has power. Clara shouted, her voice rising above the chaos, feeding on the energy surrounding her. We are not just here for a fight. We are here for healing. David, pull from our love. Remember. Within the depths of the shadows, a flicker of light emerged, born from their shared hopes, weaving ribbons of hope around David's fading form. The darkness howled, straining against the brilliance bursting forth. Clara watched, her soul gripped with both terrifying dread and fragile hope. Would love be enough? Would David remember how to fight? As the shadows lunged with ferocity, the air crackled with tension, a tempest brewing on the verge of eruption. Something monumental was about to change, and just then, Clara felt a deeper vibration beneath her feet as if the earth itself was responding. What secrets lay beneath Hollow Creek, and would they hold the key to saving not just her brother, but all of them? The pulsating energy beneath Clara's feet intensified, echoing her quickened heartbeat. She could feel it vibrating through the ground, a low hum that intertwined with the cries of the anguished shadows. It was as if the earth itself was alive and aware, responding to the turmoil that brewed above its surface. Clara. The earth, Lila gasped, eyes wide with an unsettling mix of fear and hope. She stepped close, her fingertips grazing the ground. What if it remembers? What if it remembers? Clara echoed breathlessly, her mind racing. Hadn't David mentioned the ancient stories, the whispers woven into the fabric of their childhood? The legend spoke of a time when this land was alive with magic. Maybe we can reach it. David fought against the shadows, his figure glowing intermittently like a dying flame. Clara. The darkness, it won't let me go. He thrashed but faltered, the shadows pulling him down like a heavy tide. Focus, David. She cried, straining with everything she had. The love is here. You just need to believe. Fight. But the creature loomed, its presence stretching like a black curtain, blocking out the light and filling the air with palpable dread. You think old tales can save you? It laughed, the sound crackling like breaking glass. The tales are traps laid out for lost souls, fables to ensnare fools like you. In that moment, the whispering shadows swirled faster around David, and Clara's heart sank, despair seeping into her bones. A chilling thought gripped her: what if they weren't enough? What if David couldn't break free? The villagers watched in a shroud of fear, their faces taut with disbelief. "He's gone," a voice chimed from the back, the resignation morose. "He's not our David anymore." "No." Lila shouted, fists clenched. "You can't give in. We didn't come here to lose hope." As if answering her shout, the trembling earth pulsed again, sending a ripple through Clara's body. She focused on the warmth flowing around her friends, neighbors, people who had shared grief and joy in their lives. Everything they had faced together formed a web of connection that could not be easily severed. "Let us combine our strength," Clara yelled, invoking the essence of their bond. "Join with me. We need to remember our love. Remember the joy and the togetherness. We can wake the land." Amid roaring shadows, Clara pressed her palms into the soil. The villagers exchanged fearful glances, but, one by one, they bent down beside her, their hands mingling in the dirt. Lila squeezed Clara's hand, and that electric spark zipped through them all, a surge of collective determination. "Speak your truths," Clara shouted with renewed fervor. "Let the land know who we are. Let our love rip through the darkness." Voices rang out, unclear but beautiful. Memories filtered through, the laughter of children, the shared warmth of summer evenings, the kindness of neighbors helping neighbors. Every whisper swirled, weaving through the darkness surrounding David. Suddenly, a crack split the air, drowning out the creature's taunts, followed by a blinding light erupting from where Clara's hands met the earth. Tendrils of luminescence began to rise, intertwining with the shadows, forming a twisting dance of light and dark. The villagers gasped, eyes shining like stars as realization dawned upon them. Together, they shouted, and Clara felt their power merge into something stronger, but in that moment of unity, the creature shrieked, rage splintering the air. It lunged forward, aiming to extinguish their hope. Shadows flared, furious and sinister, threatening to engulf them all. "David!" Clara screamed, straining to reach him as the light flickered uncertainly. Would he step forward into their midst, or would he be lost forever? As the darkness drew closer, Clara swore she saw something flicker in David's eyes, a spark igniting in the depths of despair. Would he recognize it? Would he finally embrace the fight? Then, the ground shook violently beneath them, forcing them to brace against each other. Something powerful was awakening beneath Hollow Creek. Clara's heart thundered. Was it salvation or doom? And as the creature struck out, the conflict reached its crescendo. What lay beneath might change everything. Clara gasped, fear coiling in her stomach. What would happen if they uncovered the secrets of the earth? What dark legacy had been buried? The answer lingered in the air, heavy and electric, marking the very edge of their fate. The ground heaved beneath Clara, a chaotic rhythm echoing her racing heartbeat. Panic fluttered in her chest as the shadows lunged, shifting to a deafening roar. "Hold on, everyone!" she shouted, her voice strained but determined. "We can't let it break us." Tendrils of light sparked from their hands, intertwining like a fragile thread against the suffocating darkness. Each shout of remembrance they cried out resonated through the land, surging back like forgotten thunder. For a moment, Clara felt the earth quiver, as if it was awakening, restless under their collective resolve, but the darkness retaliated. It shrieked, a sound that echoed like shattered glass, pulling against David with a malevolent force. Clara saw him thrash, but something shifted in his posture. Was it hope? Was he fighting back? "Fight, David! You remember us!" Lila cried, her voice piercing through the chaos. The villagers squeezed their eyes shut as the malevolence surged forward, seeking to crush their glimmers of belief. The shadows began to fold in, prickling against Clara's skin like icy knives. "We have to strengthen the light," she shouted, urging everyone to push harder into their bond of memories. "Feel the joy. Know the love. It's alive." With their voices rising like a roaring river, memories surged, dancing at harvest festivals, storytelling on chilly winter nights, the embrace of friendship that had seen them through darkness. Each memory fed the light, spiraling upwards, casting soft, golden rays against the onslaught of night. Suddenly, Clara felt it, a pulse more powerful than her own, and it throbbed through the earth. It's awakening," she gasped, her heart swelling with a frightened thrill. But just as quickly, the shadows shifted, twisting and turning, morphing into tendrils aimed at snuffing out their growing light. "Everyone! We need to focus together." Clara's voice cracked, desperation creeping in. "Breathe in the strength. Let it flow into David." A wave of silence fell over the villagers as they turned all their strength toward their friend. Lila was beside Clara, holding her gaze steady even as terror rippled through them. Slowly, David's thrashing diminished, a stillness settling over him. He looked up, eyes locked with Clara's, a flicker of recognition flaring within the tempest of despair. "That's it, David," Clara cried. "You see it? It's all of us." But just as hope reignited, the creature retaliated with a fierce roar, clawing through the light. Clara felt a rush of cold air slice through the warmth they were conjuring, and her heart froze. "No!" she screamed, her voice filled with panic. The light began to dim, struggled against the encroaching darkness. As the shadows consumed more of the glow, Clara's thoughts spiraled. What if they were too late? What if the darkness won? She fought to hold on to the spark of hope that remained. David's eyes met hers again, a battle raging and igniting within them. "Clara," he whispered, his voice barely a thread amid the chaos. "I'm trying." She could see him, a storm of emotion brewing, desperation, sorrow, but deep within, something raw and fierce. The flicker of a fighting spirit. Clara's chest tightened, her breath caught in her throat as realization dawned. Their shared love could pierce the shadows, reminding David of who he was. "Speak, David. Remember." Clara urged through clenched teeth, her voice unwavering. "Remember us." The ground quaked, flickers of warmth emanated through the earth like a heartbeat responding to its child. Clara pressed her palms deeper into the soil, hoping for an answer. What lay beneath them? Would it be their salvation or a dark curse waiting to break free? The connection poured into her like molten fire, and just as shadows reached out with claws like daggers, the earth trembled violently. A crack opened beneath them, and for that fleeting second, she felt a wall of energy surge through her and the villagers, a desperate cry climbing to the heavens. Then, with a bone-rattling crash, the darkness exploded with a flash of brilliance. What emerged from that unknown abyss might be the answer. Clara clenched her fists, heart silenced in anticipation. Would they awaken whatever lay beneath? Or would it unleash a horror they could never withstand? The land gasped in a hushed breath. What truth would come surging from the shadows? The ground erupted in blinding light, brighter than the sun. Clara shielded her eyes, fearing the intensity would sear through her senses, yet she couldn't look away. The shadows recoiled like birth pangs retreating from dawn. What rose from the crack was not just light but an entity. It shimmered, a figure made of pure energy, blurring the lines between human and celestial. The villagers gasped, a breath held tight in collective gasp as the figure took form, its presence filling the air with a pulsating warmth. "Clara." Lila's voice broke through the wonder, tinged with fear. "What is that?" "I don't know." Clara yelled over the roar that began to subside, her heart racing. "But it feels safe." David suddenly struggled to stand, the power coursing through the earth seeming to bind him to the moment. He reached toward the figure, fingers trembling. "Is it me?" "No," Clara said, her own voice wavering as she stepped closer. "It's us. It's what we've created. It's hope. The entity pulsed brightly, glowing like the heart of a star, flickering with fragments of their forgotten joys, the harvest moons, laughter shared over endless meals, hands gripping tight in moments of fear. It was stitched from their deepest memories, a tapestry woven in the fabric of the villagers' unity, but beneath that serenity, the shadows below stirred, angry and relentless. Clara felt the temperature drop, the air thickening with a potent dread. The figure's light flickered ominously, and the shadows began to move, twisting and coiling like snakes ready to strike. Focus. We need to focus. Clara shouted. She turned to the villagers, her voice a rising tide of urgency as panic took root. Bring your memories. Your love. Feed it. They hesitated, eyes wide with fear, but then one by one, voices rose. Faint at first, then louder, intertwining like vines. Remember the laughter. Remember Dash. The darkness hissed, a shrill whisper that wrapped around them, slithering in as if to choke their words. It felt as if the night itself was alive, pressing down on them, a palpable weight that tried to stifle their warmth. Come on. Don't let it in. Clara's voice trembled, but she held on to hope like a lifeline. Beside her, Lila began to sing, her voice ringing clear and true. David closed his eyes, fingers angling toward the entity, drawing strength from Clara's unwavering presence. The figure shimmered brighter, each memory they shared igniting sparks within its core. Clara felt her heart leap as she poured every ounce of love into their shared song. Endless voices joined hers, rising in strength, fueling that radiant light, battling the shadows, clawing at their unity, but the darkness was relentless. With a deafening roar, it surged forward, a frigid wave that threatened to engulf them. Clara felt its icy fingers on her skin, the very breath of despair curling into her lungs. No. Not now. Lila cried, panic breaking through her melody. As the shadows closed in, threatening to extinguish their light, Clara's breath hitched. She could feel the pull of darkness whispering fears into their hearts. The village echoed with distant screams, the memories morphing into echoes of their worst times: loss, grief, despair. Fight it. Remember the joy. Clara cried, tears blurring her vision. Desperation clawed at her throat. This was their moment, their test, but just as their song filled the air, a fierce wave crashed within the shadows, a clash of light against darkness. What if despair won? Would it swallow them whole? Then, an explosion as bright as the sun shattered through the night, and Clara could only watch, frozen as the abyss roared back. What was coming? Would they become the heralds for light or fade forever into the darkness? With her heart racing, she took a step back, uncertainty gripping her like a vice. Time stood still, knowing the next heartbeat could bring either salvation or doom. What would the light reveal in the aftermath of this battle? The explosion of light shattered the darkness, erupting like a supernova caught between two worlds. Clara squinted as the brilliance filled her vision, becoming a tempest of chromatic sparks swirling in the air. The shadows recoiled, shifting away from the radiance, but their movements were aggressive, quick and serpentine. Clara's heart thundered in her chest. We need to hold on. Don't let go. Her voice fought against the impending despair, desperation clawing at her throat. As the light surged, the villagers pressed closer together, forming an unbreakable ring of unity. Lila's song began to rise once more, bright and clear, filling the void left by the menace around them. She was a beacon in itself, and Clara could feel the hope rekindling, sizzling beneath the weight of fear. Yet the darkness writhed, defiant. It shrieked, a cacophony of anguish and anger, as if it were alive, as if it had its own pulse. You think your love can save you? It hissed, a voice clawing at the corners of Clara's sanity. What is love but a fleeting shadow? It will fail you. Clara clenched her fists. No. It will not. We're stronger together. The entity loomed larger, casting ripples of light that danced across the landscape, illuminating faces painted with fear yet glimmering with an ember of collaboration. David, still holding on to Clara's hand, bent his head, eyes focused. What if it's right? What if our past isn't worth fighting for? The thought reverberated through the air like a death knell. Clara choked, grasping at her emotions like drowning in a tide. Don't let it sow doubt. Remember our strength. All our laughter and kindness. The shadows paused, their movements momentarily stilled. Caught in Clara's passion, the villagers began to remember, voices weaving a tapestry of shared history. Remember the festivals. The children's laughter. The kinship. As their spirits lifted, the entity brightened, a vortex of warmth and light pushing against the impending threat. But with a sudden jolt, the shadows lunged forward, clawing through the radiant veil. No longer just mindless darkness, they took shapes, figures they recognized, faces twisted by malice. Ghosts of their past materialized, haunting figures of failure and pain, rebuking them with accusations of cowardice. Clara felt a cold dread creeping back in, threatening to drown out their unity. Fake. Weak. Unsure of your purpose. They jeered, shadows weaving through the crowd like dark mist. Clara felt the weight pressing down, slumping her shoulders. The fortress of hope was faltering. But then Lila's voice erupted like a thunderclap, piercing through the barbed words of despair. No. We are not what we used to be. We've fought hard to be here. Our love defines us. The shadows seemed to stumble, confusion mingling with their malice. It was a momentary crack. Clara lunged forward, an electric surge igniting within her as she grasped Lila's hand tightly. It's true. Clara shouted, we are built from our scars and our dreams. We won't fall. Renewed power rushed through their connection. The warmth from the entity pulsed, washing over them like a blanket, revitalizing their spirits. Collective memories surged like waves lapping against the shore, every joy, every ally, every love fueling their fight. As the two forces clashed, light against darkness, Clara strained to breathe. Together. She screamed, pulling everyone towards the entity. But just then, the darkness coiled in, whispering a new word, a single powerful word that froze the battlefield: betrayal. Time crumbled as Clara froze, dread creeping into her heart. What betrayal? Who among them held the weight of that accusation? Behind her, David wavered, his grip slipping. Could he be the one? Clara's breath caught, panic pressing tight on her throat. What truth loomed on the horizon, and would it shatter their hopes? The shadows hung, thick and heavy, cloaking the village in a shroud of doubt. Clara's heart raced, a cacophony of emotions threatening to drag her under. David, don't you dare pull away. The desperation in her voice echoed into the void between them, merging with the anguished wails of the shadows. David's eyes flickered with confusion, shadowed memories dancing behind his gaze. Clara, he stuttered, the grip on her hand faltering as he looked around, as if searching the faces of their friends for confirmation. What if I'm the one who let it in? What if no? Stop! Clara shouted, the words bursting forth like a flame igniting dry wood. You're not. We're fighting together, remember? But the shadows took advantage of David's moment of uncertainty, swirling closer, their whispers curling around him like smoke. He can't save you with fear in his heart. Your judgment clouds you, David. For a heart-stopping moment, Clara saw the flicker of doubt in his eyes deepen. What if I am weak? He asked, his voice no more than a whisper. The realization punched through Clara. The fear and betrayal were wrapping around David, tightening like a noose. You're not weak. You are so much more than that. Her voice rose above the chaotic din, drowning the insidious whispers. As the shadows lunged, Clara felt the tide turning. The villagers besieged by the darkness began to murmur amongst themselves, caught in the grip of trepidation. Their unity started to splinter, threads unraveling as uncertainty seeped through like a poison. Faces turned to David, questioning, quizzical. Did you really call them here? A voice called out, as fingers pointed accusingly. Did you bring this on us? No, David cried out, a blast of panic exploding in his chest. I didn't. I would never. With a deep breath, Clara closed her eyes for a brief moment, feeling the swell of emotion around her. She saw their village, entwined in years of shared history, the games, the laughter, the tears. This is a trick. They're trying to turn us against each other. Lila, her voice faltering, stepped forward, courage flickering in her eyes. We can't let them win. David, your heart is pure. We trust you. But the shadows, hostile and relentless, roared in response, trust? You've only been betrayed. Look around you. The air grew thick, heavy with tension, and Clara could feel her pulse pounding in her ears. She knew what was coming, the truth that would twist like a knife in the wound. David, their rock, stood on the precipice, fear and doubt sprinkled around like dry leaves in autumn. Remember our last festival? Clara pressed, speaking sharp and clear. Remember how we fought through thick and thin? But the doubt had taken a life of its own, spiraling into eyes that once shone with camaraderie. Every accusation became a dagger aimed at David, and for that moment, the love that had once been their shield felt fractured and weak. Betrayal isn't just one. The darkness seethed, coiling tighter. You will lose everything. And just like that, with a crack that reverberated through the ground, the light flickered. Clara's heart sank as she felt the entity quivering, bulging with anguish. The light was faltering, their hopes dimming as tension twisted through the crowd. No. She felt the words clawing her throat, fighting to break free. Not now. But cold dread seized her heart. Clara glanced at David, eyes wide, filled with the sudden realization of what lay buried deep within their history, a truth that could tear them apart when their unity was their only hope. As the shadows loomed closer, threatening to consume them all, Clara stood frozen, breath catching in her throat. What lay hidden behind the accusation? Who would defend them against the darkness? What other truths had yet to be unveiled? The air crackled with tension, thick with unsaid feelings and words hovering like storm clouds. Clara's heart pounded, each thump echoing the whispers of fear coursing through the crowd. The shadows closed in, sinister and mocking, their fangs bearing the weight of doubt that hovered like a dark mist. She felt the very ground beneath them tremble with uncertainty. David. Clara's voice sliced through the chaos, desperation flickering in her chest. You have fought like a warrior. We all have. Remember what binds us. She stretched out her hand, a lifeline woven from hope, love, and shared memories that spanned years. We trust you. We need you. Lila stepped forward, her voice ringing like a bell, clear amidst the cacophony. Your strength is our strength. Remember us. Remember who you are. The villagers were a tapestry of faces, fearful yet resolute, drawn to her passion. The shadowy figures whispered doubts, slithering through the air, intertwining their accusations around each villager like chains. You were all weak. You lost your grip, they hissed, voices dripping with disdain. Clara could feel the chill of uncertainty creeping in. The shadows hungered, eager to devour their connection, but then, a flicker. David straightened, his eyes narrowing with intensity. He fought against the shrouded voices, battling the suffocating despair. No. I want to let them take me. His voice rang out, clear as a bell, shattering the fear that clung like a fog. He turned to Clara, confidence rekindled as if ignited by her unwavering belief. I remember, he breathed, I remember the laughter. I remember the warmth. Yes. That's it. Clara shouted, a fierce joy bursting in her heart. Let that warmth push the darkness away. The entity pulsed brighter, a protective halo wrapping around them, shimmering with fragments of joy and unity. At that moment, they were not just villagers, they were a family, a community, standing against the night, refusing to let fear define them. Slowly, their hands clasped tighter, intertwining like roots in the earth. Together. Lila shouted, and Clara felt the strength surge through the villagers. Together. echoed David, and that single word became the spark igniting a wildfire of courage. Together, we can break the darkness. As if answering the call, a wave of light surged from their clasped hands. It engulfed the shadows with radiant warmth, each pulse a reminder of love shared and battles won. Clara closed her eyes, her heart expanding, feeding on the memories laid bare. Remember the festivals. She cried out, urging them to bring every joyous moment to life. All those times we lifted each other up. The seasons of sorrow that turned into laughter. Suddenly, the air shimmered, vibrant tendrils of memory swirling around them, breaking through the chains of despair. Faces of lost loves and cherished friends materialized, smiling brightly, whispering encouragement. The shadows recoiled, shrieking as the collective warmth shielded them from darkness. Stand strong. Lila encouraged, gripping Clara's hand. We are the light. The entity surged, luminous and pulsating, drawing strength from their unity, their shared experiences sparking anew, engulfing the villagers in a cocoon of hope. Clara felt the power of love, the very essence of their bonds, wrapping around David, embracing him completely. The shadows shrieked in protest, twisting like smoke against the radiant burst of collective spirit. Clara looked into David's eyes, seeing the determination etched on his face. You are not lost. You will never be lost. She vowed, taking a step closer. We won't let you go. We are here. With that declaration, the ground beneath them shuddered violently, and Clara felt a swell of energy pulse from the earth, a response to their united force. It mingled with the light emanating from their hands, merging with the essence of what Hollow Creek truly was, a vibrant community alive with courage and the will to break any curse impeding its light. Let our love rise. Clara's voice thundered, powerful and unwavering. Let it drown out forever that which seeks to divide us. And the shadows recoiled, twisting in confusion as if caught in a fierce wind, the darkness flickering nervously before retreating, including their haunted whispers that had once roamed free. Then came a moment of blinding clarity. The skies brightened, the oppressive weight began to lift, swirling away from their hearts. Light streamed down, washing over them like warm rain, a cleansing drawing forth their collective spirit to battle the dark. We are united by love. Clara shouted, their hands raised high, gripping tightly onto one another as they pushed back against the beast that loomed larger, until in one collective surge, they yelled, we are free. A shockwave erupted, breaking the curse, sending the shadows spiraling into an abyss, shrieking their defeat as the village breathed in the unmistakable light of hope set free. As the first light of dawn spilled over Hollow Creek, Clara turned to find David amidst the smiling faces of their community, no longer engulfed by shadows, but back among the living, alive, real, and filled with the warmth of love that had saved them all. Tears of relief streamed down Clara's face as she hugged her brother tight, closing her eyes and soaking in the moment of togetherness. The villagers celebrated, laughter bubbling amidst the sunrise. We did it! Lila exclaimed, her joy radiating throughout the crowd. Together, Clara echoed, standing vibrant before her family, the curse dispelled, their love stronger than all fears. The villagers rejoiced, gathered together under the dawning sun, the curse finally lifted. Hollow Creek glimmered with hope, a realm reborn. But with this rebirth, they recognized the fragility of love, and the fight they must continue. Clara took a breath, her chest full with gratitude and resolve. They would guard this bond fiercely, cradle the light they had fought for, and inscribe their stories across generations. As they turned back to the village, Clara felt the sun casting warmth over her skin, a stark contrast to the chilling memories that had once loomed over them. And in that moment, she knew not just in hollow reverberations, but in the very essence of her being, they would never allow darkness to overshadow Hollow Creek again. Now, in the wake of victory, they should share their story, spreading the message that hope could rise from despair, love had the strength to break curses, and that together, they could overcome anything. And with the fiery newfound purpose, Clara turned to the villagers, determination shimmering in her voice. Let us tell this story far and wide. You need to subscribe immediately to share more exclusive tales like ours. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help others find their own hope. Flood the comments section with your reactions, your theories about how we triumphed against the darkness. And for everyone who needs to see this message, instantly share this with at least 5 friends. Let us make sure they know, together we can beat the darkness.